Build compelling real-time apps quickly and scale them globally with the PubNub real-time network. Only PubNub delivers the core building blocks needed for any real-time application. Find out for yourself by signing up for free today. Visit pubnub.com. Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing, the most trusted podcast dedicated to the new business of location. It is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 142. We're recording this live between Asif and myself on August 9th, Friday afternoon, 2013. That is the year. My name is Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv, the place you come to for the most comprehensive, most in-depth, most behind-the-scenes look at the mobile industry you can possibly find it anywhere else on the internet. It's about time I told people what I did. I just figured it out. With me as always...
It's Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association.
What do you do, Asif?
I talk about location-based marketing and, hopefully get some more people to spend money on it. So,
and become members of the Location-Based Marketing Association.
Yes. Of course, our ultimate objective. No. Our objective is to keep people aware of what's going on and get good research out there and drive more brands to spend more money with more platforms.
Love it. Well, welcome. 142 consecutive weeks, consecutive episodes, our streak. Like we're trying to, like Cal Ripken, watch out, buddy. Right? Consecutive.
Yes.
I wonder if there's a world record for consecutive podcasts. I think Leo Laporte must hold that or something like that. But
yeah,
should look into it.
There must be somebody who does a daily podcast and up to 5 years or something.
Well, that is an incredible dedication, if you ask me. This is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. We were just saying before we started filming this that it's like, didn't we just do this? Like, yeah, we did. And you know what? It's insane that every week there are 6 more stories. There are guests. There are featured apps. There are everything. I mean, and resources. I'm amazed.
Yeah,
so,
we're only like 14, 15 weeks from our 3rd year of doing this. This is crazy. But
yeah, well, this is the place you come to find out all that information about the location-based marketing world, the contextualized marketing world, the location marketing world, a little bit of mobile thrown in there, lots of guests, lots of resources, lots of insight, and that's what we do here. And we'd like to hear from you out there in the audience, you listening to this right here in your ears. If you can hear this, please, if you have a question, you have a comment, you have a suggestion, reach out on tether.tv/talk. Let your voice be heard, my friend. You want to promote a product? Do it, please. On tether.tv/talk. And if you're finding this anywhere other than through a feed, an RSS feed subscription, through iTunes or any of your other podcast software, go and subscribe. Get it in your inbox well ahead of everybody else. You'll be smarter. Trust me, you'll have like at least 2 hours on them. Right? And in this business, 2 hours is quite a bit, isn't it, Asif?
You got that right.
All right. What do you got going on with the Location-Based Marketing Association, my man?
Tons. Well, it's every week. The last few weeks, I come on here and say, it's quiet. It's the summer, but it's all about to change. So, it's going to get really, really busy the next few weeks. I'm off on Monday to San Diego for the Retail Customer Experience Executive Summit. Looking forward to that. We mentioned that last week, but the LBMA itself and all of our local chapters are gearing up for a big fall schedule. So we've got a bunch of events that have been announced already, and so I'll rattle those off for you. On the 29th of this month, we have an event in the Amsterdam chapter. What I'm really excited about is we're opening a new chapter on September the 10th in Dallas. So if you're down in the Dallas area, obviously we haven't been down there as the LBMA, so we're excited about it. We want to meet with you. Come on out. American Airlines, JCPenney, AT&T, 7-Eleven, all those companies that are based down there are going to be out, and restaurant chains like Chili's and all those folks that are headquartered there. We're excited about it. We hope to see you there September the 10th. On the 17th, I'm going to be over in Cologne, Germany, for an LBMA event over there. Excited about that. On the 29th, I won't be there, but our Atlanta chapter is doing an event on September the 29th. And on the 30th, the next day, the Berlin chapters is running an event. So September is just crazy. We got tons going on. And then right after that in October, there's more events to follow. We've got a Toronto event on tap for then, a New York event happening as well, San Francisco, also all happening in October. So,
my God, I mean, it's incredible. You got Retail Ramp, right? That's in October.
Yeah, that's also October. End of October.
Are you involved in anything to do with the Toronto Social Media Week as well? Mid to late September?
Nope, we're not doing anything with that this year. But I mean, just from what I just rattled off is just LBMA chapters, city chapter events. That's
nothing to do with you speaking or anywhere else you're going.
Conferences or me speaking anywhere else. So all of that is available at thelbma.com/events, and you'll see it all there.
/crazy ass busy. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a new short URL. Let's see if I don't know how you do it, but congratulations. I like it. I like the fact that these things can run without you.
Yeah, so do I. Trust me. That means I don't have to be there.
Well, it's good. It's good. You know, the big guy just comes in for a little while, but you pick and choose, right? So you go to Germany over Atlanta. I would too, by the way. It's just just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have a jam show. Certainly, I think we have 7 stories in this. We have a great guest, Chris Savage, who is the co-founder of a video hosting company called Wistia. I use them. I freaking love these guys. They're innovative. The way they market is awesome. The way that they do their videos is amazing. The team looks incredible. It just seems like a great place to work. I asked him some questions about location-based marketing and video. And I think because this is what we're hearing quite a bit is all of a sudden, we're talking about these second screens, these small screens, which I think are the first screens, and the impact that video is having and how much video we're consuming on these. And so I asked him a question about location-based marketing and video. So we'll play that. And we've got, of course, our and we've got, of course, our mobile minute. This time, Chuck Martin sits down and we talk about, really, are mobile shoppers getting better deals than people who don't use these devices inside of a store? And this is a really important question to answer because there's this divide between digital do's and digital don'ts and digital haves and have-nots. And this is then, Chuck dives into this. And, of course, we got our resource, which is a really cool study, the results of a study from PayPal on location-based mobile advertising, some highlights from last quarter. So before we get started, I want to jump, and of course we got our app, which is Hulafrog, our app of the week, which is Hulafrog. Before we get into this, I'm going to start with Chuck Martin. Here is our mobile minute talking about our mobile shoppers getting better deals. It is time for another mobile minute, Chuck. We have this powerful computer that we put in our pocket every single day. It goes with us everywhere we go. But it seems that consumers have found the number one use for this is to find deals. Is that true?
Everybody, it turns out, does like a deal. A new study just came out from it's called the Parago Dynamic Pricing Study, and they showed it actually doesn't take much of a deal to woo a shopper. They found that a difference of $5 on a $50 item would actually determine the sale price. And what retailers need to be doing is looking at what it is that they're going to do to satisfy a shopper. And it turns out it doesn't take that much. It doesn't mean they have to go discount 50% or anything crazy like that. They really just have to be aware of what the customer is doing in the store.
When we bring this kind of stuff up, Amazon always seems to come into the picture here because everybody can buy things on Amazon and it seems to be much cheaper on Amazon. Are retailers in a fight with Amazon? Should they be fighting Amazon?
Well, the people who showroom, 67% in this study were found that they would buy from the physical store if they match the Amazon price. Amazon is the big satisfaction kahuna, so they basically people are really happy with Amazon. The majority, 52% from a different study from GigaOM, are happy with what they're doing with Amazon, and only 27% are happy with apps they're dealing with at stores. So the stores have a long way to go, and Amazon really is the one to beat.
And that is Chuck Martin talking about our mobile shoppers getting better deals. And yes, the answer is yes. Just the answer is yes. If you're not using a mobile device inside of a store, you are basically spending money that you don't have to spend. How's that?
There you go.
Yeah. So thanks, Chuck. Thanks for letting us do that. And of course, if you want to subscribe to that, you can do that. You can get it in your inbox through your favorite podcasting software, through iTunes. It's video podcast only. All right, on to our app of the week. This is, hey, you know what? We're talking about whether it's mobile app or it's a web-based app. Hulafrog, Asif. Great name to begin with, I suppose. Hulafrog.
Yeah, so this is something I came across a few weeks back, and I kind of bookmarked it and said, hey, at some point we gotta talk about this. So it's not really an app; it's a website. It's actually a collection of websites, a community of websites might be a way to describe it. Developed. It's a service for moms to find activities for kids to do based on their location. And the way I look at this is, we've talked about AOL's patch numerous times on this show. For me, this is a kids patch. Is how I describe Hulafrog. So, think of it as every local little community having a Hulafrog site that is curated by the moms in that community that, and anybody can start one. So if there isn't one in your city, you can start up a Hulafrog for your city. And obviously this is created by two moms based in New Jersey is where it started. And, yeah, it just makes sense. I mean, like, how many, you have kids, I have kids. I mean, how many times do you sit there going, what is there to do this weekend with the kids? And, there's the usual stuff that you know about because there's lots of advertising. But there's probably lots of other great stuff going on that you don't know about that, maybe some mom in your community happens to know about and posts it up to a site and you discover new things. So it is about local search and discovery, very specific to, moms and kids and activities around that, dads too. But for me, it's a kid's version of Patch. That's how I look at it.
And the only thing missing from this is that, I don't need another website to go to. And I'm with you on this. Being a parent, I always hear about things anecdotally. I always think like, there was this that happened a couple of weeks ago. I would love this service now if it actually sent me text messages. So if I signed up for things that I enjoyed, that I wanted to do with my kids, like science or, petting farms, whatever it is, give me the ability to sign up to get text messages back so that I'm reminded, not the day of, a couple of days before so we can do the planning. But I like this. It's hulafrog.com. It's, but I think that there has to be that, that thing that reminds me, because as you can see, I'm struggling with my own words. How am I going to remember what I want to do today? Holy cow.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that would be a nice add-on to this. And I want to make the point, too, just for those who haven't checked it out yet, it's not only about events that are going on. It's like all kinds of content. So they say, first of all, it's targeted for families with children 12 and under is the focus. So it'll tell you about where there's which restaurants are kid friendly to go to, where's the best place to hold a birthday party, in your neighborhood, all that kind of stuff as well.
This is an app. This should be an app, man.
Yeah.
Like
totally.
This should be an app.
What they should do, and we're gonna reach out to these guys and introduce them to Red Rover, which is based in New York. These guys are in New Jersey. They should be working together because Red Rover is a great app. It's all about moms and kids and location stuff. These guys have great content. It seems like a match.
Somebody's gonna make some money.
Should be happening.
All right. So that's hulafrog.com. Go and check them out. If you have kids under 12. Or if you're just any male, there's lots of things in there to do for men, grown men under 12 as well. All right, why don't we jump into these stories? We've got 7 stories. We're gonna bookend Chris Savage with the first 4. We're gonna come back with the last 3 after we listen to Chris talk about location-based marketing and video. But kick off the first story. WillCall. Yeah, so WillCall, relatively young company, raised a bunch of money, is how it came to my attention. 1.2 million from a serious group of angel investors here. We're talking, Sean Parker, from Napster and Spotify, Oliver Luckett, founder of The Audience. Some serious players in here that have put money into this thing. This is obviously a fairly small round. So what is WillCall? Well, WillCall is trying to be Square for concerts, for music, for the music industry, allowing you to pay for your whole concert experience through a mobile app. And there's a social discovery aspect to it that they're focusing on and helping you, basically find more concerts to go to near you, and just random pop-up things, local little bands in the community. And that's really what it's all about. So a very interesting play, probably not unique in that context. The payment aspect is cool. I like that it's kind of all bundled together. What do you think, Rob? I mean, is Springsteen on here? I haven't seen Springsteen. I'm looking at it right now. It's limited in cities, right? I think that there's only 2 cities, New York and San Francisco, I think.
That's right, yeah.
But And Springsteen happens to be on a little break before he goes down to South America after touring Europe extensively. That's the Springsteen update part of the show. It's location. Yeah, so this reminds me of Timber, the app that we've talked about many times a while ago. Like, it's shocking how simple it is. There's a grand vision. There's a few things that I like about this. The big thing that I like about this is, aside from the investor A list, is the fact that you can do merchandising. Right? And I love the fact that it focuses on smaller venues, smaller bands, discovery of bands, and then we all know that these guys don't make a lot of money selling albums, right? Selling CDs or selling music, but they actually enable the purchasing of merchandise through the application as well. So you can set that up, and I love the fact that what it's doing is helping the venues and the bands generate revenue, which is to me, like I get goosebumps just thinking about revenue, right? So I think that those aspects are great. I don't know how this is going to become the the square of concerts when you're in two cities, and I don't understand this is not a unique thing, right? To be able to buy concert tickets or merchandise is not unique, because we have big companies that are already doing, like Ticketmaster and StubHub and those guys. You can do it all through this. They're not doing the transactions. They partnered with the transactions to be able to make sure that they're secure. They're not securing your credit card information. Like, I think that this is either a thin veneer of many services to come, or a thin veneer of a company that looks to be acquired with those kind of players behind it. I mean, that's great, but I don't. 1.2 million is too much money for a company like this to do what they're doing. So I like the idea. I love the concept, but I don't know if there's a market here for these guys. That's it.
Yeah, so I'll agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think for me the key to this kind of thing is rapid expansion into as many cities as possible. I mean, this is about building a user base and building it fast. I would like to see in here links to Facebook to help draw that user base in once you can get this to numerous cities. I think if there's social sharing going on between this app and all of that, and I know there is a feature in here that I do like, which is if a friend of yours who's on the system, buys a ticket for a concert, you get a notification. So obviously you're prompted because your friend's going to go as well. So that part is really nice, but I think there needs to be a bigger social magnification element, perhaps connected to Facebook or Twitter or other things like that. They need to get to more cities, and for me that means getting to some of those small labels that cover some of the these smaller bands and groups that are very regional. I mean, you go to a city like Denver with a great little local music scene, or Kansas City or Minneapolis or whatever. Like, I mean, there's all these little towns, like they're not little towns, but tier 2 markets, let's call them, compared to LA and San Francisco and New York and Chicago, that I think would make this work really, really well. Yeah,
it's like, I think the biggest challenge for me is that it's small, it's not available in my city. But again, it's not. There's nothing so unique about this that really makes me feel like I'm compelled to download yet another application. There are so many.
Unique? No, but what needs to be unique, Rob, is the content.
Yeah, right? but there are many ways to find this out. I mean, we're about to basically roast our next story, which is SpotSetter, and because this is information that's readily available, and if it's unique to a locale, then that's very important. But the venue owners that are putting their content out there, they're not just exclusive to WillCall, right? Like, because their goal is to be everywhere, right? Yeah. So I don't know, like these kind of apps. And by the way, if you go to their website, I think it's WillCall.
But Rob, do you not think though, if they were to roll this thing out to, let's use Canada because we understand it, to Regina, okay, and CBC Radio 1, who does a lot of stuff to promote local Canadian artists and bands and whatever, got on board with something like this and sponsored it. I mean, there's a revenue model to be had between a broadcaster like that and a platform like this to drive traffic to see artists locally in a city. That, for me, is right.
And it's also, like, as I said, I love the tying to merchandise and helping the bands and the venues make money. But I think that there's holes here, and I think that for $1.2 million, that's fine. Let's see what happens with this. But right now, it's no better than Timber, right? And
Sure.
Timber did it in house with no money, and they're pulling publicly available data from databases, right? Yeah, like there's something here, but what I've seen of this is nothing that I haven't seen anywhere before.
All right, let's jump on to the next one here.
Well, yeah, the next one's even worse, man. Like this. Okay, so if I told you, listen, this is story number 2. I'm gonna like, it's very similar to WillCall, but with a broader audience, which is ridiculous. And if I told you, listen, you know what, I'm gonna use the social sphere to find out what restaurants I should go to, and to decide what neighborhoods I should live in, or what parks I should go to, or where I should take my kids, or what hotels I should stay in. You'd say like, okay, well, you could use like Yelp or Foursquare or Facebook, or you could reach out to your Twitter followers and do that, or you can use any of these social applications. But then I said, no, I'm going to use SpotSetter. What would you say to that? Spot what? this company?
I don't even know what to say to this, Rob. I saw this story. They raised some money as well, 1.3 million, to go and do this. And I don't understand this at all, because everything I can tell about what this thing does is it just takes content that other people already have from Yelp and Facebook and Foursquare and Twitter,
Instagram,
and and looks at your friends, and then lays it on top of a Google map, and tells you, here's where stuff's trending, here's where your friends have been. Like Foursquare or Google or Yelp could turn on a service like this layered on top of a map in 30 seconds. They have all this data. Like it is their data.
Yeah.
So I struggle with, first of all, there's no user history to speak of that you can say, hey, we've got all this data about people's users and behaviors and whatever. And second, you don't own anything. Like, where's your IP?
You own Zip. And then you're competing for downloads, like against the guys that you own that you're leveraging the data from.
Yeah.
How did these guys get 1.3?
I don't know, man.
It's shocking. Unless we're missing something way out there. This is a Me Too leveraging everything else other than their own idea. My God, I thought we were more advanced than this, but it always surprised me when I see something like this. SpotSetter. Like, if you're interested in it, please go and download it. Let us know what you think. SpotSetter.com. You won't find me on there because why? Because
it doesn't make sense. I mean, and literally, one of the guys behind this was an engineer at Google.
Oh.
And then he left to go and do this. And his claim is that, well, Foursquare does this, but they only do it with Foursquare data. We felt that it needed to be done across multiple platforms. No. Sorry, guys.
I'm out. I'm not happy with WillCall. I'm not happy with SpotSetter. Let's talk a little bit about Pizza Hut and Amaze. Let's talk about this. Am I going to be impressed with this? Story number 3?
I don't know if you'll be impressed, but I am very pleased to kind of look at the evolution of how location is becoming increasingly relevant in an online e-commerce world. It's not only about mobile. It's not only about apps. It's not only about being in the store and scanning things and all of that. The e-commerce world is often a world that we don't we tend to ignore when we talk about location. And so Pizza Hut went out and they partnered with a company called Amaze to redo their website, basically. And one of the key parts of this website is automatic detection of the location of the visitor to that site. And what they do with that is identify the closest restaurant, serve you local menus, daily, specials, deals that are local to that particular, restaurant that happens to be near you. So you're not getting a one-size-fits-all, Pizza Hut experience. It's a localized Pizza Hut experience based on where you are online. So this kind of follows the whole sort of theory of responsive design and all that kind of stuff that we talk about. So I love that, that sort of that evolution and that movement.
Makes when you bring that level in, we did there was a mobile minute that we recently did that focused on this, right? We talk about this mobile web component that people have to remember, and it is a powerful piece. Like when you add location to it, and you can add context to what it is that you're displaying based on the location. You have to ask permission. You always have to say, like, can we use your permission for your location. But boy, oh boy, when you add the location layer, like we've been talking about for 142 episodes, when you add the location layer, all of a sudden, and you'll see it in the statistics that we have at the resource with PayPal, is that the engagement rate increases exponentially when you add location-specific data to ads, to your data, to your website. It increases, like, I think it's like a 40% increase about engagement, and then it reduces the sales funnel. Why in God's name would you not use location, Asif? I don't get that.
Yeah, and it's all about data, right? I mean, we talk about how much you and I love data, and this is about combining data sets and delivering an experience based on that ultimately leads to more sales. So, I mean, one of the things that they do with this is they deliver the top 5 pizza choices that are top 5 pizzas that are bought by restaurant, by city, by region. And it's different. It's not like everybody in the country buys the same pizza across the board. So whether that means anything to you or not, to some people it influences their purchase decision, right?
It does.
And so that's interesting. And then kind of the adjunct story to this is another similar kind of thing is there's a company or a new platform called Tradus that launched in India, which is being described as a location-based marketplace. And so this is kind of like an e-commerce, eBay type of portal type of thing, and it's all location GPS driven. So they know where you are. They serve you, content that of products that you can buy that are available in stores near you, in places near you. That you can actually go and get or have delivered in a timely fashion because it's near you. It's not you're buying something from some marketplace in Seattle and you live in
Lahore,
Montreal.
Yeah. This is interesting. Tradus for me is interesting, and at first blush you're thinking the same way that I was thinking around this, which was, well, I'm not really interested in contextual product. I'm much more interested in finding the product and then having it shipped to me from wherever. But there were some restrictions on what can actually be shipped, right? So, when you talk about countries like India or countries like Pakistan, where, there are limitations on what can be shipped. So you make sure that you don't send yourself a product that can be shipped. Like, in Singapore, you can't chew gum, so don't send gum to Singapore, right? So, when you get over that, this is an interesting thing. But the context is always a little challenge for me with something like Tradus, is that I'm not interested. I might be interested in buying local, which everybody's talking about buying local, and I like that concept. But I am product first. Ship it to me wherever, and I think that's a North American viewpoint. Is that as we're getting into this Amazon overnight and same day delivery, it doesn't matter anymore that it is in Seattle and I'm in Montreal or Toronto or Ottawa,
unless it's a product that. You need to feel and touch and see, right?
Right.
Before you can make that decision. And if this kind of a marketplace can point you to a local retailer where it's available, then more power to them. Right?
The aspect that I like about this, though, is that when I pick a product, then the next step is alert me if it's local.
Yep.
Right? So if it's not local, ship it to me. If it's local, alert me when it's local and where I can go get it. Right? And I think that's the hook.
Yeah, and one last point to make on this whole kind of e-commerce location play is I was chatting with Rip Gerber about over at Locate, and he was saying, with all their data and how it's being used now, one of the biggest applications that they're seeing is in online gambling. So again, we're talking about websites, we're talking about, in this case, gambling. And the reason it's become so relevant for them is about, in the U.S. in particular, where you have different state laws around what's legal and who can gamble and all that kind of stuff. They have to determine the location of where that person is in order to determine whether they're allowed to play the game. And all of that kind of stuff is really interesting. And that's, probably, we know gambling is one of the biggest industries online. So maybe more than e-commerce.
Yeah, doesn't it go like every vice, like gambling, porn, and then everything else? And I'm sure if you could figure out how to drink and smoke online, it'd be like gambling, porn, drinking, smoking, drugs, and then a small subset of all of that would be e-commerce and everything else that we do.
So there you go. Big story, positive developments that location's starting to see, much more traction in the online e-commerce world.
I love it. Yay. 1 out of 3. Yes, that was a good story. I'm sorry about WillCall and I'm sorry about SpotSetter, but get some originality, right? Anyways. All right, those are the first 3 and a bit stories, 3 with an adjunct. Pizza Hut, Tradus, SpotSetter, and WillCall. We're going to jump right now into a conversation. It's a very short conversation that I had with Chris Savage, who is the co-founder of Wistia, talking about the impact of video and location-based marketing. This is Chris Savage, co-founder of Wistia, the world's greatest video hosting provider. Here's Chris. What about location? Does context play into content on a mobile device? My biggest...
Terrifyingly, yes.
It does,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen a ton of people doing it with video yet. I've seen it, with people who have sites that are designed for local search, like for mobile. And so they have content that is like, oh, if you're going to Costa Rica and you're there and you search for something, like they're going to use their content to rank better and like show up and stuff. I think there's no question that Foursquare and like the Google Now stuff and like that everyone is competing for this, and competing for it means to me that eventually we will have it, and it will definitely be like a mixed media attack on like local contextual content.
But that's, all newspapers are trying to hunt this down. They're trying to do this, right? They're creating the very hyper-local content. But it's always interesting to me that, when you add a geofence and you add, a specific message, it's likening to like YouTube. When you set up a channel, you've got a welcome video, and then when they unsubscribe, you've got a, hey, come back. Why did you unsubscribe video? Same thing when you walk into a place of business. It's different when you scan a code and then you get a video playing based on that code inside the store, right? And then there's metrics that are associated with that to help the salespeople move forward. And I see this world just evolving around location and context, and I'm just interested. Like, is that, how far away do you think we are really from location really adding relevance to video?
I don't think we're that far.
Okay.
I am seeing it right now. I met with somebody yesterday who runs like a pretty significant like restaurant business in Boston, and they have like packaged goods that are hitting the stores where every packaged good is going to have a link back to videos for recipes for what to do with that stuff.
Wicked.
And like that.
So like tied in with QR codes or tied in with a image.
Yeah, it's either a QR code or like a short URL.
Yeah.
But basically, like, it's obviously local and where they're distributing that stuff. Like, it's around here. They're playing off like the chef's name and all these things. And then they're going to take control of that one interaction, obviously, so that someone scans it. They come back, they watch the video. Now they know if they can get this person's email address, they know that they're either a buyer or a potential buyer of this thing, and they've connected to this place that they couldn't have connected to before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's absolutely going to happen. I think the question is like, I don't know how fast it's going to happen. Before everyone all the time, there's like action expectation that's like, if I'm buying something, I want to know what to do with it and how it works before I go. And I want a video to like, because it's harder to fake things in video. I want a video to show me the truth behind this product.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, I'm desperately looking for this online right now because I've done so many interviews. But I interviewed a coffee roaster in Vancouver, and this is my last story here. And it was what ended up happening with this was these guys on their, so it's a fair trade coffee roaster, and nobody really understands what fair trade means, right?
Yeah.
So what they did was they took a QR code. It's the first time that it's called Ethical Bean Coffee, and it's based out of Vancouver. And what these guys did is they did exactly what we're talking about here. They had on their packaging in Loblaws, up here in Canada, a little QR code. And when you scanned it with your phone, it launched a video, and it told the story about the bean and the farmer and where it was. And they interviewed the farmer, and in Guatemala and his family, and they took him through a tour of of how they did it. And I thought, boy, what an immersive, all in 2 minutes. What an incredible experience that sunk me deeper into that brand. And I hope to see much more of that. So it sounds like that's what these guys are doing.
I think we will, because basically the way you would have seen that before is actually walking into their store.
Yeah. Yeah.
and this is how it comes online. So I really think we'll see more of it.
Wicked. Chris Savage, folks, co-founder of Wistia. Go to wistia.com. Look, I implore you, go to wistia.com, and there are some amazing marketing videos that they use in there, and it can help you with your business just by watching those videos. You don't have to sign up or anything for their video stuff, but if you're doing any hosting, I would strongly suggest you sign up. But just a sample of an episode that will come up on Tether.tv with more of Chris. It's about 45 minutes. Great guy, great company, and I appreciate him coming on here, and of course on Tether.tv, wistia.com. Woohoo! All right, let's finish this off. We got 3 stories, our resource of the week, and then we are out of here for the weekend. Our 4th story is a company called Geolog. That's how you say it, right?
Yep.
Geolog. It's an Android application that literally it's a little bit of what we talked about last week around Apple's patent around location-based battery consumption. Well, here is something that does the same thing. We all know that the GPS is a huge drain on the battery. You know, constant activity of GPS kills the battery. You can't use a GPS really for driving unless it's plugged in or charged, or it kills your battery. So here is something that's unique for Android that literally realizes that you're standing still and at its simplest form, and doesn't require GPS connectivity. It doesn't need to go back and up because it realizes that you haven't moved from that location, thus conserving battery. These are small innovations that I find amazing, that we're never going to really invent, the battery that never loses a charge. So we have to create little nuances like this that save battery power. This is pretty cool, and it's available on Android, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only for Android.
Yeah.
So I love it. I think the first thing that whether it's about saving battery life or anything, one of the things I like about this is, and it's a hot button issue for me, is all of these devices that we have, these smartphones, they have so many sensors packed into them.
Yes.
And they're so underutilized. So. Things like Geolog, like Apple's patent, it's about starting to use some of the other sensors. So, there's a gyroscope, there's a compass, there's an accelerometer, there's all these things that are in here, and there's a GPS.
Yeah.
But it's when you start to combine all those sensors to, optimize the performance and the efficiency of the device that you start to see real benefits. And so that's really what, Geolog's doing, that's what Apple's doing. I guess the thing about this for me is that this is coming from a third party, whereas the Apple thing is obviously Apple. It's the manufacturer, and so in this case, it's not Google, it's not Android, native, but it's awesome, and maybe
it's not native, but it's awesome.
Maybe this is something they'll sell to Google or to Android, and. Yeah,
this is the kind of technology, but this is the kind of technology that a company like Apple would acquire to be able to integrate into their core functionality. You know what I mean? And I think that's what Android should be looking. If Android wasn't such an amorphous blob, right? Not controlled by anybody really.
Yes.
Then I think that they would have to be looking at this and saying that kind of technology is cool. I think the risk here for Geolog is the fact that maybe Google will just build it, right? And instead of buying it. So, but I love little innovations like this, and I think that this helps with everything. We talked about the nuances of Apple, the same way they love their design, and they innovate around these little things, and this is pretty cool. So it's Geolog. It's available for Android, and it's available in the Google Play Store. Hey, there's a good story.
There you go.
And
it's
this
2 in
one,
a row almost.
But this one right now, Bytelight, man, this is a good story.
Yeah, so Bytelight's a company, we've talked about them way back, I don't know how many episodes ago when they first kind of launched. This is a company that came out of the MIT labs. It's a Boston-based company. And originally when we talked to them, what they were doing was, focusing on that indoor location, indoor positioning space. They had built an app and using, by changing LED light bulbs in a store, and measuring the LED signatures between what the light bulb was emitting and where the app was, they could figure out your position in the store. Awesome.
So awesome.
Cool.
So awesome.
A completely different way to do indoor location other than Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. So what they've announced this week is something called the Light Field Communication Reader. And so they're basically pushing this as a new standard or an alternative, if you will, to NFC. So one of the challenges with NFC is the readers are not necessarily that cheap. So there's a cost to them, and they believe that similar functionality in terms of device-to-device communication can be done using light or LED in the standard that they've developed here. And so this might be a different way to do tap and go or payments and checkouts and all those other things that NFC is being talked about for right now. So I like this. This is pretty cool.
I mean, anytime you can come up with this kind of stuff using light, what am I going to say about these guys? Go to bytelight.com, bytelight.com. Like they have an app platform. This is an innovative company that just kind of one day looked up and said, let there be light. Right? I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe just a quick sidebar. They also announced, along with this, they've signed a partnership agreement with Appconomy, which is a kind of a platform reseller of these solutions in China. So they're taking this right into the Chinese market as well, in Shanghai in particular, and going into a bunch of retailers and testing this stuff out, which is cool because we know that in especially markets like Shanghai and Singapore and places like that are already deploying NFC type technologies. Yeah. So it makes sense to go and just take a technology like this that works. It's cheaper. You've already got a market. You don't have to make the market. You can go and get some early traction, and then come back to North America. When people decide to catch up and start doing that stuff.
Yeah, but this is, this is the kind of innovation that we need to have. Is that low friction, high impact. And here's Bytelight. BYTELIGHT.com. Bytelight.
Yeah, and just another quick sidebar on that. Bytelight. These guys came out of Boston. I said at the front end. One of their advisors is Dan Gilmartin, who we've had on the show, who was one of the founders of Where that eBay acquired, which is now PayPal Media Network. So, these guys have lots of pedigree and support and intelligence there. So don't be surprised if you see some PayPal connectivity to this kind of standard as well.
It's the last piece, man. It's another piece for PayPal's world domination. Hey, you know what? It just dawned on me is that we not even on the agenda. See, if I'm shocked, is that it's Jeff Bezos, the king of the world, buying the Washington Post, man.
Yes.
Wow, we can have a whole episode on what that means.
That is a whole episode. Wow. So, do you think we can get Jeff on the show?
I'm going to try. Yeah, I'm going to try. Okay. Hey, Jeff Bezos.
No, you know who should get on the show. Let's get Rupert Murdoch on to talk about what he thinks about it.
Yes. Well, we're aiming high, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Well, the reason I love Bytelight is because they call it the Light Field Communications Reader. Bytelight. Bytelight.com. All right. Our last story, Asif. Hey, did you know that Apple is actually tracking where you're going, where you are, where you have been, and keeping that information for their own personal use to make sure that you can get services and products that they're providing easier, faster, better, stronger? Haven't we been down here before?
I think so.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. This is not a surprise, right? So all of a sudden, iOS 7, the beta, the latest beta, I think it's beta 5, came out, and lo and behold, there is a whole lot of location tracking going on. And what Apple says the location tracking is for is very simple. It is exactly what they remember this whole kerfuffle around tracking GPS coordinates. The same thing happening there with these guys is they were doing it so that they could fake almost that early to simulate GPS connectivity or location connectivity so that they remembered where your last known spot was, and then they could actually pick it up from there instead of going up to the sky, into space. Same thing here is that they're I guess the goal is to add contextual information around location, and so they got to track it somehow. And huge kerfuffle. Everybody's throwing their arms up in the air. In fact, I read an article here that said that France is actually is beginning to investigate Apple's location-based tracking services. So they got into hot water. They were fined a bunch around that other kerfuffle, $3,000 fine in South Korea. It's like, oh. $3,000 fine. I mean, I think that Apple's lawyers charge $3,000 a minute. So they agreed to that. They paid $1,000 to a South Korean user who filed a claim against them, and now France is going after them for the way that they gather and use location information. But how long do we go through this? I understand, right? they've since amended it. Apple will at some point, if it isn't already in there by now, allow you to enable or disable that feature. People like this is a beta version of a software that is 2 or 3 months away from being launched. Of course, there's going to be these hiccups. Don't use it if you don't want to be tracked or you want to be a guinea pig. But how long do we go, Asif, down this path where people realize, until people realize that, you know what, all like carriers are tracking us, our cars are tracking us, satellites are tracking us, our phones are tracking us. They have been forever because of cell tower and triangulation. It's how they got, like how they get gangsters, right? I mean, so what's different from this? And as long as you have an option, I'm going to assume that it's okay, that everybody's going to be fine with it. You can turn it off and it's off by default. But this is, I think that this is the pain that happens when something like this comes out, when location really becomes pervasive. Isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it kind of goes with what I say all the time when I get asked about these privacy issues and all this other stuff. I mean, for me, it's happening. And you know, there's a behavioral shift that has to happen. There's an acceptance that has to happen in the general public and the consumer around this. It's all opt-in. You choose or choose to do it or not to do it. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, you know, there's a value proposition in front of you that says that you should do it, and here's why. Yeah. And I think, you know, we're going to see more and more reinforcement of that value proposition, whether it's, you know, from Apple itself at the manufacturer level, or at the app layer, or at, you know, the retailer or brand, you know, demonstrating why it's important for you to share location. But, you know, it's all about, you know, value, and
everybody's got a price.
And that value has a price. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, this is, you know, all hands on deck. It was just such an extreme response for this, is that, you know, Apple's exploring, all these guys are exploring with location to see what it can do to, you know, sure, if there's nefarious reasons here, if they're trying to do it for a reason, right? I mean, I know that today Obama is talking about civil liberties and tracking people and the curtailing of civil liberties and you know, what's going on in the United States. And I think that there's nefarious ways and there's protective ways, and you can wade into that argument all you want. But if Apple is doing this and manufacturers doing this for the user experience first, and they're securing the data and they're giving you an option to opt out with consequence, right? Yeah. I think that then the consequence is that your location might not load, or your GPS might not be effective, or whatever it might be. Yeah. You know, this could be viewed as progress, right, in this industry, especially obviously the marketing industry. Now, from a consumer, maybe I'm a little bit more paranoid, but at some point this happens. And, you know, our resource of the week talks about this, is that location-based mobile advertising is here, right? So, I mean, frequent iOS updates and frequent location requests are happening in the devices, whether we like it or not. And you know, it's been going on since cell phones were invented because of triangulation. So this is just another one of those things. We'll see what happens when the full iOS version comes out, but expect that you're going to be tracked through the operating system.
There you go.
All right, those are the 6 stories, 6+ stories. Our special guest, Chris Savage, co-founder of Wistia, our Mobile Minute with Chuck Martin, our app of the week, which is Hulafrog. It's time for the resource. If we've said anything that's offensive, reach out on tether.tv/talk and leave your opinion about this, especially that last story about Apple and the way that they track you and I and everybody, the 300 million people that carry these devices. Because we are being tracked. You can be sure of it. Absolutely sure of it. Every one of us, regardless of what you turn on or off, we're being tracked.
It's happening.
It is happening. So now the resource of the week, Asif. This was a fascinating study. PayPal came out with their Q2 highlights on location-based mobile advertising. The data on this was very, very good. But all it's doing is reinforcing the fact that, hey, you know what? Location, hey, marketing, hey, put the two together, benefit for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And so obviously this report looked specifically at various retail sectors. So they looked at gas and convenience. They looked at financial services, at big box, and no matter the category, what we saw is huge lift in a geo-targeted campaign versus a non-geo-targeted campaign. 68% lift in click-through on gas and convenience, 60% lift in financial services, 17% lift in big box. So just tons of great data out here supporting, you know, the need to incorporate location.
What we've been talking about for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
You know, two things struck for me is that one of them is the competitive conquesting, which is where you
Geo-conquesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Where you put a geofence around your competitor's location.
Yes.
And it increased click-through rates by 12%. I thought that is fascinating. So this is like the virtual wars, and I think that to me, we talk about it quite often on the show about companies doing that. But look at the impact it has. The second thing is that, man, all the data points very clearly that using location around marketing initiatives reduces your sales funnel, right? Moves people through the sales funnel faster. You're not going into that prospecting mode, or you're not going through that process of, assigning a 1 to 10, whether or not they're going to buy or how close they're going to buy. So what we're really talking about here is you are speeding up the path to purchase by using location. And that's what this data is telling us. And I don't know why people are not leveraging it, man. If we could say that we're going to cut your sales funnel in half, the process from introduction to close, that's basically what they're saying. We're going to cut your sales funnel in half.
For sure, and the relevance of location is huge. And one of the other things that they said in this study was that they found that these geo-targeted campaigns had a strong kind of effect on other click actions once people were there, like click to call and click to coupon and all that kind of stuff. But the number one thing that people do is click to map. 20% of those clicks are about mapping. Yeah. So.
It is. I mean, it's. I think it reinforces everything we talk. If we were surprised by any of this data, we shouldn't be hosting the show. But I think that now all of a sudden people are. We've seen these perfect examples around these things that people are starting to think about location. We talked about that with the Pizza Hut story. Is that this is important. Location is the operating system that we should all be working within, right? It is the thing that you're going to be able to leverage the most in order to be able to satisfy the most amount of the largest number of customers and close faster. So do this, would you? All right.
There you go.
That's it. So where's this available? Can we say this?
On the lbma.com/research.
All right. That is the location-based mobile advertising second quarter highlights from PayPal. Wicked resource. Wicked. If you're looking to bolster your numbers to prove why you need location in your business, this is that document that can help you do that, especially. The difference, though, it was funny because the distance, right? They talked about how the conversion percentage based on distance.
Yep.
It just shows you like there's a 40% higher conversion rate when it is within a certain 8 to 10 blocks than it is when it's 2 or 3 or 4 miles away. And
yeah, it's just Drywire has lots of good data like that too.
Yeah. So man, look at this data, you'll love it. 142.
That's it.
We will be back next week for episode number 143. Asif, is there anything else you want to say? Can we just end the show?
I think I'm good.
Thank you guys for listening, watching wherever you are. Thank you for making it through this entire episode. If you haven't subscribed, do so. If you haven't signed up for the mailing list, go to thelbma.com or untether.tv. Just consume this content. It's free of charge. Please do it. Do it. It will benefit you. It'll benefit your business.
Yeah. And one last shout out. I want to welcome a couple new members to the LBMA. Geolog, which is GEOLOQAL. They're a location simulation platform, which is kind of cool. And Retailligence, which we haven't talked about for a little while. And great little company out of San Francisco. So welcome to you both.
We just did one of the Mobile Minutes. Today's Mobile Minute, Friday, August 9th. It has a little bit about Retailligence in it. Chuck Martin mentions them. So
there you go.
We love those guys.
We do.
Asif, have a great week. We will catch you guys all next week for episode number 143. Go do something in the location-based marketing world. Make some money.
Make it happen.